Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really chilling cautionary tale from our source material. It's a story about a massive catastrophe that people saw coming from a mile away and still did nothing about. Let's get into how it all went down. So, the story kicks off with this really intense, almost biblical vibe. This quote just perfectly captures the unbelievable scale of the disaster. It sets the stage for an event that, for the people who went through it, must have truly felt like the end of days. For years, you had scientists looking up at the sky, but not in that, wow, look at the stars kind of way. Nope. They were watching with this growing sense of dread. They were tracking asteroids and saw something coming that was so big, so potentially devastating, they gave it a grim nickname, the Big One. And look, we're not talking about your average meteor shower here, the kind that just burns up and looks pretty. The Big One was a very specific kind of threat, a single object massive enough to punch right through our atmosphere and hit with the force of like a full-blown global nuclear war. But, and this is where the story gets really frustrating, nobody was listening. Despite all the data, these warnings were mostly just dismissed. The source material makes it clear that other scientists, politicians, and the public just saw it as alarmist talk, you know? It was all just complicated math and probabilities that went over most people's heads. And then, boom, the theoretical gets very, very real. An asteroid out there explodes, a chunk of it flies off, and bam, it completely takes out a satellite. For the scientists who'd been sounding the alarm, this was it. This was the smoking gun. It was absolute proof that the threat wasn't just some theory, it was right on their doorstep. So this threat, it wasn't some vague idea. It was a specific, gigantic asteroid they had their eyes on. And the size they calculated? Get this, 59 square miles. And if you're trying to picture what that even looks like, well, this slide just nails it. 59 square miles. That's basically the size of Staten Island, New York, the entire island. Now just try to imagine that, an object that big just tumbling through space. That's what they were tracking. The prediction was pretty terrifying. This Staten Island-sized monster was on a collision course with another asteroid. Think of it like a game of cosmic pool. The impact was going to shatter the Big One and send these huge, city-killing pieces raining down directly on us. Okay, so you've got this undeniable threat hurtling towards Earth. How did humanity respond? Well, pretty much with a collective shrug. This is where the story stops being about space rocks and starts being about our own, very human failures. And this table just lays out the whole conflict perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the science, the hard data, the predictions, the real-world proof like that satellite getting smashed. And on the other side, politics and public opinion. Just skepticism, hand-wringing over the cost, and a total paralysis when it came to actually doing anything. And here's the kicker, the truly heartbreaking part. We actually knew how to stop it. The source says the plans were literally written down, documented. But that's all they were, words on paper, tangled up in so much red tape, they never stood a chance of becoming reality. So, the day everyone was warned about finally came. The year is 2011, and after all the predictions and all the inaction, what scientists feared most becomes a horrifying reality. The source describes these last moments in such a creepy way. Imagine this, just before it hits, this weird, unnatural quiet falls over everything. The air pressure changes so fast it literally creates a vacuum in the sky, sucking clouds straight up. Just an eerie, terrifying calm before the storm. And then, there it is, a meteorite half a mile wide, just ripping through the atmosphere. In the speed, 30,000 miles per hour. That's so fast, it's hard to even wrap your head around. It's like crossing the entire United States in about 6 minutes. Insane. Yeah, this quote from the source material really gets at how alien this whole thing was. It wasn't like any natural disaster we know. It was something from the outside, violent and turbulent, bringing this light that was literally unimaginable. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was ready for what was happening. But the impact itself, that was just the start of the nightmare. It created this instant shockwave, generating winds over 1,000 miles per hour. I mean, think about that. The most powerful hurricane ever recorded doesn't even come close. This is over 5 times faster. The devastation was just total. These weren't winds that just knocked down trees. They scoured the landscape bare. And the heat from the impact? It instantly ignited these massive fires that just tore through cities and forests for miles and miles. A global-level catastrophe, no question. So once the dust settles, you're left with a big, ugly question. This wasn't some random bolt from the blue. People saw it coming. This was preventable. So why? Why did they let it happen? And the road to disaster is depressingly simple. You can break it down into these 4 steps. Step 1, scientists propose a plan to stop it. Step 2, politicians ask, okay, but how much is this going to cost? Step 3, and this is the absolute gut punch, nobody could figure out how to make a profit from saving the world. So step 4, funding denied. End of story. It really all boiled down to money. The warnings and theories just fell on deaf ears because the sheer expense couldn't be justified. The scientific community couldn't answer the one question the people in charge cared about. What's the return on investment? And without a way to profit, the plan to save humanity basically died in a budget meeting. And that's what this whole story leaves us with, right? It's more than just a fictional tale. It's a huge warning sign. It forces us to look in the mirror and ask a very real question for today. The next time science gives us a clear, unambiguous warning, what's the price we're willing to pay for doing nothing?